This video is about reverse wish lists. Hopefully you've already watched the standard wish list videos, so you know that a standard wish list is where you've obtained your slots from your sites, you've heard back from them, and you're going to share that availability with your students. Now, a reverse wish list, you kind of think of reversing that process. That's why we've called it that. So instead of contacting your sites and then showing that to your students and finding out from what your sites have given you, what your students are interested in, you're going to create a wish list, ask your students, hey, these are all my sites. Which of those sites should I get in touch with because you have an interest in going there? And then I'm going to let the sites know, I have students interested. Do you think you could take us, one of our students? So you're just kind of reversing that process. However, this can be really complicated. Different schools might do it different ways. Some might do a standard slot request and a standard wish list alongside a reverse wish list. Some might only do a reverse wish list, so it can really vary, and you're definitely going to want to talk to your CSR about your particular setup. But in general, for a reverse wish list, you are going to want to take these steps. So you're going to want to go ahead and go to placements by session. And the first thing you're going to want to do with a reverse wish list is you're actually going to create a brand new session just for your wish list. The reason for that is that to work the reverse wish list, we're going to have the support team add a slot at every single site that needs to be on that reverse wish list. And I don't want to get mixed up with what's a real slot that my site has actually offered me and what's a slot that's just there for the wish list. So since we don't want any confusion, we're going to go ahead and add a session. I like to make this really easy and just clone my real session and just add the word wish list. So I'm going to find my session here. And I'm just going to walk through the cloning steps really quickly. And I'm just going to call it some sites will, or some schools will call this, level 1A 2019 reverse wish list or all sites wish list. And then we're just going to keep the rest of the information the same maybe. We don't really need the review confirmation on here though, because my students won't actually be placed in this session. And maybe we don't even need a description because again, this is just for that wish list. So we're just going to walk through the steps here. We're going to make sure to check off what sequences we have. If you do have multiple sequences, it's kind of up to you. Do we just want to have one sequence and have my students give no preference of which day they want to go or which sequence they would prefer? That's fine. Or we could just say, write in the notes what your preference is. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Or we could add slots for different sequences and the students could say, if I was going to this site, I'd want to go on Mondays, at site A, but at site B, Tuesdays might be easier for me. So kind of up to you, however you want to organize that for your school. For this one, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm just going to have the students write it in the notes, so I'm going to change my sequence order here. I'm just going to show one and just show, maybe that first possible date to the last possible date and just kind of change that sequence a little bit. Then we don't have to worry about copying activities because, again, the students are not actually going to be placed in this session, so we can just kind of scroll through all the rest of these and then confirm. Then once we're done with that, it will have created this clone session for that reverse wish list. Your next really important step here though for your reverse wish list is to email the support team, send them the information of this session, so go ahead and copy over this session name and tell them you have a reverse wish list going and that you need a slot added at every single site for this wish list. That way, your students will have all of your sites available to choose from. Typically, you're going to want to add those as tentative slots because again, they're not real. The site has not actually said that they could go and take a student. So go ahead and email the support team and ask for that. If you do want to limit which sites appear on the wish list, you could do that as well. The thing that you're going to want to do there is let the support team know. So if you only want in-area sites to be on that wish list, that's totally fine. Just let them know that and they will add a slot at every in-area site. Or if you have your sites categorized, level 1 and level 2 or something like that on the categories, we could add slots at every level 1 site or just every level 2 site, whatever you need for that particular rotation. The other thing you're going to need to decide is if you want just one slot at every single site in the other setting. That's pretty typical because you just want to know what sites the students are interested in. And, if they have preferences for settings, you'll just ask them to write that in the notes section. However, some schools do want the students to say, my first choice would be a pediatrics rotation at this site. My second choice would be the same site, but just a general outpatient ortho rotation or something like that. So if you do want that, you could ask the support team to add a slot at every single setting that you've marked as available at your sites in the site information section. Keep in mind, if you're going to do that, you need to make sure you've gone through and really edited the settings section of every single site so that you do have accurate information. So when you're setting up that reverse wish list round, it is going to be very similar to how you would set it up for a standard wish list. So you're going to go in and click to add a round and fill out all the information just like I explained in that standard wish list video. The minimum number of slots, the maximum, the start and end date, just like you would for your standard wish list. The important thing here that is different though is this includes slots with status. So you're typically going to have requested to the support team to make those slots tentative. So instead of confirmed slots here, you're going to want to make sure to choose tentative slots. Go ahead and make your other selections here and then go ahead and save. Again, you can go ahead and select those students and make sure you do go in here and select your box student. That way you can go in as your box student and complete a wish list if needed. So that's really your basic setup of your reverse wish list. The other thing to keep in mind though is, let's say I have added a brand new site. I just got a new contract and I added a site after the support team has already added all of my slots to that reverse wish list round. In that case, I am going to need to make sure to go in, find that new site that I've added, and go ahead and add a slot to my reverse wish list round if you want that site to appear on your reverse wish list. So you're just going to need to come over here, go to slots on the right-hand menu, go ahead and find that year, find your wish list round, and click to add a slot. And when you do add that slot, I already kind of discussed the settings possibilities here, but a lot of schools will just have one slot at every site in the other setting, and just make sure again for that status, instead of confirmed here, you want that status to be tentative, and then save. So the support team will go and do this in bulk for all of your sites, but like I said, just make sure if you have any new sites that you go ahead and add those slots yourself. That way your students will be able to select those new sites from your reverse wish list.